With their fourth-round draft pick, the Falcons chose safety Billy Bowman from Oklahoma. Let's break down this selection and recap what Atlanta has accomplished so far in the NFL Draft. Thanks for tuning in. Bowman, a product of Denton Ryan High School in Denton, Texas, was a 3-year starter for the Sooners, just a little over an hour from his hometown. So, what do you need to know about this pick and about him as a player? Let's dive in. First off, you're getting a playmaker. Over his 3 years at Oklahoma, Bowman recorded 11 career interceptions, including 6 in his junior year, where he started 13 games and earned first-team All-American and first-team All-Big 12 honors. While his senior year wasn't as productive, he had just 2 interceptions and saw a drop in tackles and tackles for loss. He still proved to be a solid player on the field. In 2024, he won Oklahoma's highest honor, the Don Key Award, which speaks volumes about his character and contributions. Now, let's talk about his physical attributes. He stands a little over 5 feet 10 inches and weighs 192 pounds, so he's not the biggest guy out there. He may not impose his will on opponents, but he makes up for it with his instincts, football IQ, and ability to read plays. His athleticism is average, with a 4.42 in the 40-yard dash. While he might not be the fastest player on the field, he's not someone you can easily outrun either. Bowman may not fit the traditional NFL mold in terms of height and weight, and he'll need to work on his strength and tackling, as noted by analysts. However, considering he was ranked as the 84th overall player on the big board and the 6th best safety, I'm not going to be too critical of this pick. I like the selection of Billy Bowman because I believe he has the potential to be a good player. In the middle of round 4, it's important to focus on finding talent rather than just filling needs. You want to identify players who can make an impact, even if it's not a huge one. Bowman could be that guy, whether as a rotational player or a solid contributor on special teams. We'll discuss Atlanta's draft as a whole in more detail shortly, but first, I want to remind everyone to subscribe. We're aiming for 35,250 subscribers and are less than 100 away from that milestone. If you haven't already, scroll down and hit that subscribe button. Now, let's wrap up with some final thoughts on Bowman and take a look at what Atlanta has done in the draft so far. With the addition of Xavier Watts, their third-round pick from Notre Dame, and a consensus All-American safety, along with Bowman, the Falcons are building some solid depth in their safety room. It might feel like overkill at safety, especially since they also signed Jordan Fuller, who started for the Rams and played for the Panthers last year. I expect Jordan Fuller to be the initial starter for the Falcons, but keep an eye on Xavier Watts during training camp. He could really push for that starting job. Then there's DeMarco Helms, who missed all of last season due to an ankle injury. With these 4 quality safeties, it looks like they'll carry all of them onto the 53-man roster. While not all of them may start right away, it's all about getting the best players on the field, and Billy Bowman is definitely one of the top talents available at pick 118. Dane Brugler had some insightful comments about Bowman, noting that while he may fall short in size and strength, he stands out among the best safeties in this draft class when it comes to football IQ, movement skills, and competitive urgency. His disruptive versatility in the back end will make teams reconsider how much they value size in their safeties. Now, let's wrap up our thoughts on Billy Bowman before we dive into the rest of Atlanta's draft picks. If you want the ultimate elevator pitch on him, here it is. High football IQ, plenty of experience, solid ball skills, but he does lack in size and strength. Still, I believe he can carve out a role as a rotational safety, especially for a 4th-round pick. And let's be real, I like what Atlanta has done in this draft, and that's an understatement. They secured 2 immediate starters in the first round. Sure, they had to give up a bit to get James Pierce, but they got the player they wanted at 15 and landed someone they never thought would be available at 26. It may seem like a hefty investment, but I think Atlanta will be thrilled with these trades in the long run. Then there's Xavier Watts, an All-American safety from Notre Dame who had an incredible season last year. If you're looking for ball skills and a player who can make game-changing interceptions, look no further than Watts, who racked up 13 picks over the last 2 years for the Fighting Irish. As for the Falcons, they have one more selection in round 7. I've said before that I don't think they'll trade up, and yet they've done it both times so far. So what do I know? Let's see how this all plays out. I really believe that Atlanta is done trading up in this draft. They're not feeling any pressure to make big moves. Instead, they're focused on their first 3 picks, aiming for starters with each selection. Take Billy Bowman, for example. He's a solid backup or a great rotational piece at safety. Overall, Atlanta seems pretty satisfied with how their draft is shaping up. Now, when we get to the 7th round, it's tough to predict who they might grab. They could go for an offensive lineman or even look for a new center. With Ryan Nealon stepping up as the starter, they definitely need a reliable backup. Keep an eye on the interior offensive line. It's a spot where they might want to add some competition. And let's not forget about wide receivers. Teams can never have too many playmakers. Touchdowns are what it's all about. There's been some buzz about Tyler Algier possibly being traded, but I doubt they'll move him. Even if they did, they picked up Jace McClellan from Alabama last year, so they're feeling good about their running back situation with Bajan, Algier, and Jace as their top 3. Looking at Atlanta's linebackers, they've added Jalen Walker and James Pierce, both of whom I expect to be day 1 starters. If they're not starting right away, you can bet they'll be rotated in frequently and play significant roles early on. On the defensive line, they made some investments last year, bringing in Rook and Brandon Doris. While Zion Log is no longer with the team, they've added Morgan Fox in free agency and brought back Antwan Woods. So, while there's always room for improvement, the immediate need for help on the interior defensive line isn't pressing. Now, if we take a step back and look at Atlanta's selections from rounds 1 through 4, I'd give them an A. They've had one of the best drafts overall, and I think their picks have been spot on. So hats off to Atlanta for a fantastic showing in the 2025 NFL Draft. And hey, I really appreciate everyone tuning in to our draft coverage. It's day 3, and I can feel the energy starting to fade a bit. I had to wheel in a chair just to keep myself going for another 7 hours of the draft. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button.